Good evening and welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer insight, education, and resources to in-home caregivers and those affected in their world. These are the children, the parents, the extended family, and everyone who loves them. And our goal is to offer real life topics and learning through discussing real issues and offering real solutions. And tonight I'm very excited to welcome our guest, Bryne Boyer, who is a doula, a childbirth educator, a movement meditation and true believer of living in the present moment. She studied yoga in New York City with Sharon, Gannon, and David Live at I'm going to let you pronounce that one, Bryne. Jivamukti Yoga, along with, these are big ones, Gurmukh's Khalsa way prenatal yoga training. And a chance meeting in New York City at Golden Bridge Yoga, she met Debra Pascali-Bonaro, produced the documentary Orgasmic Birth, and inspired her to become a doula and childbirth educator. Along with yoga, she also studied mindfulness with Jon Kabat-Zinn, Ph.D. and Goldie Hawn at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. After leaving New York City, she returned to Birmingham, Alabama, and co-owned and directed the Yoga Circle. While serving as a doula for Alethia House? Alethia House and UAB Hospital in a collaborative relationship with Birmingham Yoga, she created an inner city program for children. This collaboration was created through Better Basics, a nonprofit organization. She currently splits her time between Dallas, Texas, and Taos, New Mexico. While at Dallas, she works in collaboration with Frisco Birth Center, directed by Margie Wallace. And also she works with the baby catcher, Elizabeth Aviles, a nurse midwife. She's most passionate about sharing her knowledge and love of birth, movement, and meditation. Her greatest joy is walking beside women and pausing in the space between and before entering into motherhood. She has 2 children, a daughter who attends the University of Texas, Austin, and a son entering the 2nd grade. That's a big split. In her spare time, she enjoys yoga, meditation, reading, self-care, nature, and eating clean. Her passion is to help mothers while they're pregnant create a more peaceful and balanced world, starting each and every breath. And so tonight, we're going to really dig into the work that you do and dig into the importance of preparing your mind and body for birth through movement and meditation. But before we jump into that, I'd really love if you could share with our audience kind of the why behind everything that you do, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of amazing things.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much for the introduction. I found like I said, in New York, I met Sharon, Debra, who produced Orgasmic Birth. And I was already into the yoga world and teaching yoga. And I would have moms come to me that were pregnant. So I thought, well, maybe I should go do some prenatal yoga training. So I did that. And it led me to meet Debra and find out about the doula world and just to see the community that was created with these women and listening to how important that was to have that the women around you supporting you and holding that space, ideally holding the space for you to transform yourself into a mother was just so breathtaking. And the documentary is beautiful. And so then I quickly went back to Birmingham and found and trained to become a doula and have loved it ever since. It gives me so much passion to help the mom, to support her, to help her with any kinds of fears or anxieties she might have surrounding birth. So that's what I do, and I love standing beside the mom and just walking that journey with her.
Mhm. I love that. It's such an important thing. And we don't see much of that in the traditional medical community, the Western medicine community. I mean, they do a lot of great things, but
Thank you.
don't always see that level of support. And sometimes people will say to me, well, what does a doula do? Why do I need a doula? Why should I consider a doula? And I look at that level of support. I look at my own experience, especially, and think, how different could things have been if I'd have had that kind of support? Um, and I watch people going through it now with that level of support and see how beautiful that experience can be for them. So I love that you're doing this work. Uh, I want to kind of talk about some of these aspects of what you do and really kind of unpack some of it because a lot of times people just don't get the importance of some of these things. So let's start with movement and why movement is important and kind of what you recommend to the people that you work with.
Perfect. I love that. Movement's very important. I started out as a ballet dancer as a very young at age 3, and I did that all the way through high school. So I, know the importance of what movement does to the body. Because the body, there's a book out there called The Body Holds the Score, and it's hugely important. The body keeps a lot of energy or tension, whatever you want to call it, just kind of trapped. So the more you can expand and move and kind of breathe and shift that energy is important because our body holds it. So the movement's great for pregnancy. Walking every day is huge. Squats are very important, and focusing on the hips. If you're, not going to go to a full traditional class, I think those 3 topics or those 3 tips are the best ones to follow. Just to keep you moving and mobile and baby in the correct position and, kind of taking the pains and the different sensations your body is feeling with this, growing baby in your belly. So you really have to work at that. And it's also a good time to hold belly and just connect as you move and breathe and teach baby how to breathe while they're in the belly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that the things that you're suggesting are really kind of simple, basic things. These are things that people can do at home, they can do on their lunch hour. You're not saying, hey, you got to go get a gym membership and spend, $500 a month or whatever. You're talking about simple, basic things.
Yes, I think that's huge. And I do a lot of that in my practice over the years. I've been practicing yoga since 2000. So quite a while now. And you have to find and kind of add it into your day, whether you're in the kitchen or you're lotioning your back or, you're doing these different motions. If you can just add those movements in, like, okay, I've, accomplished, I've stretched my back and I've stretched my legs and I've done some squats, so my hips are prepared for the day. So it's very easy. It's just kind of you have to be mindful about it and conscious and say, okay, I'm going to do this and start adding it in. And then when you do, your body will talk to you if you don't. So
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Uh, and one of the things that you are big into and think we don't give enough value to sometimes is talk about meditation and how that plays into this. So I'd love if you could really give us some information around that, how it plays into it, how you would suggest people would consider, adding that into what they're doing.
I would love to. It's a favorite pastime of mine. And the more you do it, I think the more you fall in love with it. I like to tell my clients that meditation is like you have a little savings account. You don't really ever see it. But when you enter in a challenging moment, such as birth or a transformational moment, that all comes back to you and you're able to stay centered and stay stable in your space. The easiest way is to sit down, get your phone, set it for 1 minute and just focus on your breath. That is definitely the easiest meditation that you can do. Just breathe in and breathe out. If you need some extra help, maybe adding an affirmation that you need for that day. A great one to use for everyone, just a general affirmation is let go. We all have plenty of things we need to let go of. Our to-do list, just anxieties and worries. So close your eyes, sit up really tall, inhale, mentally say let, and exhale, mentally say go. So that's the easiest way to get into meditation.
Yeah, I love that because I know that, reality is I've tried a few times
Okay.
myself and I hear other people talk about this as well. And they say, I feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or I can't. What I hear a lot is I can't shut my mind down. I can't let go. And I love that you're saying just start with 1 minute.
One
Uh,
minute. And that's it. And then I talked to my clients, I'm like, have you meditated just 1 minute? That's all you have to do. It will change your life. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. And the added affirmation, if your mind is kind of crazy and running all over the place, stay with that inhale, let, exhale, go. And, if things do come in, I recommend people to set them on a cloud and watch them float away. Let something else come in. Don't stay stuck on that same thought. That's okay. Cause some days your mind is just not steady, but don't not do it. Just sit there, acknowledge the thought, watch it float away, and then come back to your affirmation.
I love that. That's a great suggestion. Um, One of the things that traditionally we look at is that women are often put on their back during birth. And one of the things that you talk about that is so important is the importance of changing positions during labor. Would love if you could elaborate on that, give some suggestions on things that people can try. And then let's address the whole concept of if we're having a hospital birth and we had an epidural, how that might play into this or not.
Love that. Okay, perfect. So my favorite position for birthing is on hands and knees. So that just gives you a nice, kind of comfortable, private way to birth, right? If you think about how you traditionally might have seen a birth in a hospital, it's very different, very private. And mom can actually control baby, as they enter the world, which is amazing to have the mom to be able to hold the baby's head and let that be the first touch that baby feels as the baby enters the world. It's just magical and beautiful every single time. But see, that's my favorite. A lot of people in the home births in the birthing center world like water births. Those are great too. So that's kind of sitting in a tub, kind of knees up, or maybe you're squatted, kind of leaning on the edge. That's another great position. And a full squat, if moms can do it, kind of standing and then squatting. I had a mom who stood up and gave birth, and it was so powerful and just amazing to witness the strength that she had inside her to do that. So, and I've also watched moms go from, um, being in the hospital supporting a mom, and, the monitors come into play in the hospital. They usually do that monitoring and they fall off. And it's just this, it's like just this thing you have to keep going through and getting them connected to hear baby. But when the mom gets up and starts moving around, you can tell their face softens, their body's lighter, their shoulders relax. So the movement does help, even though if it sounds like it might be scary because you're used to this traditional on your back way. It's very beneficial.
Mhm. And, the reality is what we view as traditional medicine historically, if we look at the entire existence of humanity, that's actually just a small little piece of it. And what you're talking about is much more the ways that we know people will have birth for centuries. And
Right.
around the world, in many cultures, still that is the predominant way versus the Western medical way.
It is, and you see that in other cultures, so but it's making its way here, so I'm glad. I mean, there are some great nurses, at hospitals that are advocating for their mamas to, move and shift, and, the problem with the hospitals, they're so busy most of the time, so the nurse doesn't have that time to spend with you one-on-one. But I've seen some great nurses come in, they'll get the moms, drop the bed down at the end, get there's a squat bar you can ask to bring in and put on the edge of the bed. So you can use that with your weight. Trying different things. If you do have an epidural, you can lay on your side with a peanut ball between your legs, and that helps the opening of the pelvis just to help baby travel down. So there are things to do, and constant touch, constant touch, and just in that reassurance that we have you, we're holding this space for you. So
Yeah, absolutely. And there are phenomenal people working in the traditional Western medicine. And I love that you mentioned that. Um, is a lot of times these people have really great intentions. It's just, you're right. They are so busy and trying to keep up on everything, and they can only be so many places at once and do so many things. That's where the support of a labor doula can really be beneficial. Uh, so, one of the things that you mentioned is breathing techniques and boundaries in the birth space. What do you mean by that? What does that look like?
well, boundaries, some simple things, and clients have actually taught me this. I mean, I know some boundaries, obviously, that I think are important for like when people come into your home after baby arrives. But I even had one mom who said, these last few weeks, people are so excited for you to have this baby and they keep calling and keep texting. But she said, I just need to create this kind of bubble to protect myself and get my headspace right. So that's one boundary, kind of setting that up. You don't have to answer every call. I mean, let people know. I'll be, taking this time to prepare. It's a huge transformation. And I think it's important for moms to have those boundaries. And then, creating that space if you can when people come in. Support's great, community is amazing. We've lost touch with that. But I think in our society, when people come in to how we're used to, we're used to living alone, and then someone steps into your space and you don't have these boundaries created. So then it's causing you anxiety when you just had this new baby. And really, baby in your belly, but you don't know baby in your arms. How is the latch working? How is the nighttime going? Are you getting enough sleep? I mean, you really need to be waking baby up. So getting used to that pattern of new baby, and then creating a list for people who come in, because the more the mother is supported, and that's what I say is a boundary. Like, that's my boundary. This is what I need done. Yes, I need to learn to feed baby and hold baby and be skin to skin 24/7 if you can is important. But people who come into the home, really set out a list and write a note on the top of there and say, hey, this is what I need. This is what's going to fill my cup. So I'm able to provide for this new baby that I'm holding every day. So that's kind of the boundaries that I think people need to go ahead and set. And if you've never been a boundary setter, practice now, start now, and use your voice. It's important.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. It's actually very similar to something that I do, and something that we teach and encourage both postpartum doulas and newborn care specialists to do is to have a list or have a like a jar with different tasks that need to be done, and tell visitors. And I tell clients it's absolutely okay to let me be your boundary. I will
Yes.
be your boundary. I will be the bad guy. Throw me under the bus all day long. It's fine. And I will say to somebody who comes to visit, "Yeah, I know you want to see the baby. You can peek at them, but you don't get to hold the baby until there's at least one thing out of this task list that's been taken care of that helps support the new family or supports the new parents." Uh, because everybody wants to come see the baby. The babies are what everybody's excited about, but it's the new parents who need the support and the help. And so I love the idea of a list. I actually make like a laminated list that I put right on the fridge or put on the counter and check things off as they get done. There's lots of different ways to make that happen. Uh, so
I like the jar approach as well. That's cute. That's fun. That's a fun, but maybe for children too, get them helping if you have little ones, pick a
Mhm.
task.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. So many ways that you can make it happen. And one of the things that you have mentioned that's important, and I'm a huge advocate of this, is postpartum preparation. So let's talk around that a little bit and what you view as that, and what you would suggest for new parents.
sure. So the first 40 days is a great book. And I did recommend that on my recommendations of reading to support your childbirth education. Our culture doesn't really have that built in. So to read about different cultures and how they're supported in the care they take, and maybe some things aren't for you, and that's fine, but take what you need from it and really create that space so you can create your family. You're creating a family and you've never done this before. So start with, those postpartum needs, making that list that you want, making sure moms have built-in daily self-care practices. Rather, that is, let's say go with 5 minutes in the bathroom, right? For a facial or a quick sitz bath. Just sitting and relaxing and breathing and taking a space from baby, because mainly you need to be taking care of baby all day long, but you have to have at least, I would say, 5 minutes a day of self-care.
Mhm. Yeah. And too often there just isn't a real solid focus on that. Everybody's like, new baby, and baby goes in for their 3-day checkup and their 1 week checkup and the 2 weeks. And yet a new parent oftentimes isn't seen for 6 weeks after the birth of a baby. And if they aren't doing it, or if someone who is supporting them isn't helping that to happen, they really can get worn down really quickly. And it can create a situation that's very difficult for everyone.
Yes, it can. And having the baby blues the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks is okay. The explanation I give is you ask your husband you want to take a bath and to go get you some bath salts. He runs out. You're crying when he gets home. That's the baby blues. That's okay. The hormones shift and dip so much in those first few weeks, especially day 4 or 2, 3, or 4 when your milk comes in. That's a big change. So that day, what I found in my practice is sometimes I would leave it up to moms because I do postpartum care as well. I would leave that up to the moms, but now I'm really going in on that 3rd or 4th day just to check on mom and to talk to her, just not to let her get left in that space, the space between, right? As you're moving into this to motherhood and this new space where your milk comes in, and the hormones are changing, and to have that support, it's so beneficial. And to have people come and maybe set up little baskets and have different rooms, stations set up for breastfeeding. One room, have your snacks and your water. So that could be a party. Moms could get together instead of a baby shower. I mean, in addition to a baby shower, do a mom party where they come and you make padsicles and you make up these baskets to put in the rooms and fill them up with water. Maybe even write some nice little affirmations for the moms in there. I think that would be a really fun time for moms to assemble their friends together and really have that love poured onto the mother with support.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would combine very nicely with one of my favorites, which is having a meal party where everybody brings freezer meals that are easy to pull out in the morning, throw in the oven in the afternoon, and dinner is ready. Uh,
Yes. And dads sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I have this. I can do this." No, dads need to be supported as well. Sometimes they get left out, but dads need to be in that support. Dads don't need to be doing all those lists and those chores. They need to be with mom and they need to be, chest to chest holding that baby and really connecting. So,
yeah, absolutely. Wow. So we have talked about so many things today and we are almost out of time, but is there anything else that you'd love to share with our audience before we wrap up?
I think just 5 breaths together. I think that would be fun. So, can we do that real quick?
Sure.
Sit up nice and tall. Close your eyes. If you're pregnant, hold your belly. If you're not, hold your belly. Let it extend a little bit and inhale and feel your belly extend. And exhale. Inhale, move air in your belly. Exhale. We'll do 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last 2. Thank you. I feel like the more we connect with our body and get in touch with our breath, it just changes our life. So I gift that to everyone. I do that with all my mamas. Every class, we sit down, we breathe, we do a few other areas as well, but the belly is really important. So just connect with your body each day and your breath.
Yeah, no, and I'm not pregnant and that still felt good.
Yeah,
So, right.
our belly. We need to do
And
that more.
absolutely. So, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Brenda. It's been an honor to have you with us and to learn from you. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And to our audience, thank you for joining us tonight. If you have questions around this topic or anything related to it, please put them in the feed and you can tag Bryn or you can tag New World Care Solutions. We'll make sure that you get answers. And if you're wanting to rewatch this segment, catch any of our other past Real Talk episodes, along with all of our other content, hop over to newworldcaresolutions.com and click on the education tab. And of course, you can also find us on YouTube and all of the podcast channels. So thank you so much and have a great night.